Good day to you, everybody. This is Martin Sherrington, and you're listening to the Google for Business podcast. In this episode, myself and Jamie Turner are talking mobile. In particular, we're talking mobile marketing. Jamie is right on the cutting edge. Cliche aside, that means he is at the front of mobile marketing in ways you couldn't even imagine. If there was a wave, he would be on the shore paddling. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. He really does know his stuff, and he's just the most positive person to be interviewing, really. So, anyway, it's a great session. Hope you enjoy. And welcome to Jamie Turner. We're here, we're talking. I'm good, mate. We're going to talk about mobile. We're going to talk about Context Google for Business, but you're right at the front of a lot of things that are going on with advertising and mobile.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
tell me what you want to know about it. It's a fascinating, amazing world because it's we can target, track, and do all sorts of things with the ads, and it's really, really amazing stuff.
Well, let's start with how the world has changed in the past few years.
Well, here's what's interesting. So I wrote a book about social media. I think it came out, the first one, in 2010, and that social media really kind of took off. Mobile book I wrote, I think in 2013 it came out, and it struggled a little more. The whole idea, even to this day, when I write about social on the 60-Second Marketer versus writing about mobile, the social posts will get a lot more shares. Why is that? Because social's a lot easier. Mobile's a little more complex, or it seems a little bit more complex. So I think people are a little more trepidatious about it. However, that said, it's finally getting into the world of the small to medium-sized business. The big corporations, Fortune 500 companies, have been doing mobile for 5 years. Now the small and medium-sized businesses are starting to get into it because they understand the importance of it. Half of the stuff that people see on my blog, they watch via mobile, and I think that's going to continue to increase. So the key point there is two things. One is mobile's for real, and it's really happening now. And if you're any size business, you need to be jumping into it. Second point I'll make, though, is it's not quite as difficult as it may seem at first. It's a little more difficult than social, but it's not so difficult that you can't do it as a small to medium-sized business and actually grow your revenues as a result of diving into mobile.
Okay, so ultimately, I mean, that's what people want. They want more sales at a reasonable price of acquisition per lead. So what are the options that you've got then? Because obviously people are familiar, most probably, with AdWords and looking at local, but you're doing a lot more than that, aren't you?
Yep. So let me cover off on the key ideas, and then we'll focus in on mobile display, which is mobile banner ads, which is where you're driving. But the key things in the mobile sphere are a mobile website, mobile paid search, something called proximity marketing, which we can also talk about, which is what iBeacons are, and something called talking Wi-Fi, which is a way to, which is like iBeacon, only better. Then also mobile display, QR codes, which are dead. Don't bother with those. And a handful of other things like SMS that are still out there, text messaging. But the two areas that are the most rich with potential are mobile display, so mobile banner ads. And what's going on now is you can go on to Google AdWords and run a mobile, or the Google Ad Network, I should say, and run a mobile display campaign. It's pretty easy to do. All you have to do is sort of search around in there, or just Google the term Google Display Network, and then figure out how to do mobile from that. But on the more advanced stuff, what we're able to do is actually target specific people who have bought specific products or specific categories and just send ads to those people. And it's game changing because you haven't been able to do that until now. So this goes beyond behavioral targeting. It gets into actually seeing what people have purchased at the store and then saying, oh, we're going to target that person. So as an example, let me tell you a story on that front. You, Martin, go down and you buy Coca-Cola. I go down and I buy Pepsi. Let me flip-flop that because I actually work with Coca-Cola. So I buy Coca-Cola, you buy Pepsi, and our neighbor doesn't buy soft drinks. I can go in and then send an ad to me that says, thanks for being a loyal customer. We appreciate it. And I'm like, how'd they know I was a loyal customer? That's interesting. I can send you an ad, Martin, on your mobile device that says, Martin, Go down to the grocery store now, and if you switch from Pepsi to Coke, we'll give you a 25% discount. That's game changing. We're targeting you because we know you buy Pepsi, and we're getting you to switch over to Coca-Cola. And then I can see the person who doesn't buy soft drinks, and I don't advertise to them. So instantly, I save a third of my budget right off the bat. I send Jamie an ad that thanks him for his loyalty. I send Martin an ad that says switch over to Coca-Cola, and I skip over the third person. And then we can actually see if you actually bought the product and then tie that back to the ad campaign. But because if you buy your product with a credit card or use a frequent shopper card and use anything except other than cash, then we can go in and say, oh, that ad actually worked because we sent the ad to Martin. And then a week later, we saw that he bought Coca-Cola instead of Pepsi. That's a game changer. So it gets a little bit complex, but mostly it's a great way to grow your sales and revenue using mobile display.
And that's using AdWords.
No, you cannot do that level of
segmentation,
of sophistication. Yeah. What you can do using Google and stuff like that is target people who what are called lookalikes. They look like the prospects that you should be targeting, and that's a very, very effective way. The other way, if anybody wants to understand how to do it in a more deep level, just reach out to me at jamie.turner@60secondcommunications.com, and I'll respond to your email, and basically I'll show you how we do this.
Wow, it's amazing, and I don't think people realize. But so you've got to have the information about that person. You've got to have their phone number in the database. That's one of the key things, isn't it?
It is.
You've got to match it.
Yeah, here's how it works without getting too deep in the weeds. What we have done, the technology that we have access to, we've gone out and mapped out 110 million mobile devices in the United States, assigned an ID to those, and then gone in and said, okay, where does that mobile device live in the evening? We can see where you are in the evenings. And then we go, well, that's probably where they spend the night. That's where their home is. Then we take that data and correlate it with data that we can get at the grocery store level. Hey, this person at this residential street buys at your grocery store. What do they buy? And we get that data, and then we match it all up. So it's fascinating stuff and groundbreaking stuff. But for most people, you're going to want to just go into Google Display Ad Network and figure out the mobile sort of analytics there. And when you're in there, go ahead and just say, I want to target people who are probably soft drink drinkers. And then you can go ahead and do it. It's not quite as nuanced as the technology we have, but it's still very, very good.
Awesome. Let's talk a little more about changes in local.
Yeah.
On mobile.
Yeah. That's a great question. So there's this idea, there's this concept going on right now, which is a powerful one, which is we can market to you on TV, on your computer, and all these places, even on your smartphone. But when you are at the moment of purchase, when you're standing there and you're in a grocery store and you're looking at, let's say, vitamins, and you're saying, should I buy vitamin A or should I buy vitamin B? One of the things that a certain percentage of people do is they open up their smartphone and they do a search that says, hey, should I buy vitamin A or vitamin B? What are the ratings for these vitamins? What we can do now with something called proximity marketing, which is either through iBeacon or something called Talking Wi-Fi, which is by a company that, full disclosure, I actually consult with, and they can go in and say, hey, you are just about to buy this. Let me put a little ad in your Google search and it's not Google paid search. It's a little sort of display ad that can come over that says, hey, guess what? We have a sale on vitamin brand A today for 10% off. It's very unobtrusive, so it's not like with iBeacon, you have to actually open an app. You have to change your settings to allow the messages to be sent to you. It's quite frankly something that a lot of people I don't think are going to do. With Talking Wi-Fi, what you can do is go in and basically just open your browser, and the store can go ahead and just very delicately put a message or reminder there that you don't have to log in for, you don't have to allow, you don't have to do anything. So it's game-changing technology as well. And it's actually it's better than iBeacon because of the fact that you don't have to log in and all that sort of stuff.
And is that pushed over the Wi-Fi network?
It actually is pushed over the Wi-Fi network, which is why it's seamless and unobtrusive. It just goes in and it just kind of shows up there, and and you don't have to pay attention to it if you don't want to, but it's very, very easy for the user, so they don't have to sit around and change a lot of settings and things like that.
The thing is, my brain's now working about all the possibilities, because essentially you've got access to somebody's attention. Haven't you?
Yeah.
In anywhere. It could be at a festival, or it could be anywhere, saying, hey, why don't you've opened up the browser, you're looking at the next gigs that come up, and you could be saying, hey, you've got are you hungry? We've got some food, or whatever, and you can be doing that en masse as long as you've got access.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's interesting that you talked about that, because one of the questions I get when I speak all over the place is, how does mobile work for B2B? Well, with Talking Wi-Fi, what you can do is go in and have an event, a trade show or a festival or a conference, and you've got 1,000 people sitting in the audience eating their lunch. Half of them are on checking emails, doing searches and all that sort of stuff. And it can say, hey, this afternoon, here's what's going on at our conference. Be sure to stop by booth A, booth B, booth C, and get a free whatever. And so it's a great way for the B2B world to use mobile very, very effectively.
Interesting. So in terms of stats, how does it work CPM wise, or on, or click-throughs? Yeah. What percentages are people getting on that?
Yeah, so I'm going to address that. And let's bear in mind that most people work in the world of small to mid-sized businesses, 80% plus in the United States. I don't know what it is overseas, but it's going to be the same. And so what I'm going to do in this conversation is continue to try to craft it towards SMBs that are, sort of do-it-yourself or easy things that people in your marketing department can do themselves. But let me answer the question you have, which is a pretty robust question. So the question was, what are the results like? Because a lot of people say, oh, really, banner ads on your mobile device? I never click on those. And when I do, half the time it's a mistake and I didn't mean to do it. Well, we know that. We go into it and we say there's data that says 35 to 45% of the clicks are errant clicks. How do we know that? Because they instantly click out of it. They don't stay on that page that we drove them to. They just instantly click back. So we go, well, that's really basically a wasted click. So we're aware of that. Even then, it works like gangbusters. Here's why. The click-through rates are important, but the more important identifier for a successful campaign is what's called the engagement rate. What is the engagement rate? The engagement rate is what happens to the person once they click on your ad, and how deeply involved are they in that page? Because we have this thing called rich media now, which is basically that page can be an interactive ad. It can show you a video. It can show you a carousel where you can swipe through and sort of see different products. Oh, I like this pair of boots. Oh, I like that pair of boots. It can say, click here and see what color you want the car to be. Do you want blue or red or green? It has all this interactivity to it. That's the engagement rate. The better the engagement rate, the more effective the ad is. So you can have a low click-through rate and a high engagement rate, and that will be a more effective campaign than if you had a high click-through rate and a very low engagement rate. So what we're doing now is getting very, very sophisticated. I know plenty of campaigns that for every dollar they spend, they generate $5, $6, $7, $8 in revenue on the back end. So that's a pretty good ROI. Pretty much any chief financial officer, if you went in and said, I need $1 so I can make our company $5 or $6 or $7 or $8, pretty much they're going to say, how many of those dollars do you need? Just tell me. I'll do that investment all day long. So it actually works. It's just that a lot of people aren't using it yet, which gives you a competitive advantage.
You and Google, in terms of what you're using, are you using Drive?
Yep, I am. Yep. For a lot of our clients, we will upload things into the cloud and say, here's a spreadsheet, take a look at it. Let's all comment it and all that sort of stuff. So we're using Drive in that sense, if that's what you meant.
Yeah. Because I couldn't imagine working without some cloud-based system. With my assistant and with the IT team and so on, it just works.
Yeah.
And it's a curiosity thing. I don't know if we use that bit, but I was just wondering, do you use Drive? Let's go back to mobile.
Yeah.
So you can tell. And let's think, what are we... Paul's going to be delighted with editing these bits. I'm still thinking now about the Wi-Fi stuff now. You see, I've got my brains working going, right, what can I do with those ads?
I got a couple of things to talk about. So if that's
Yeah,
okay.
go for it.
A lot of people are like you, where they're going, wow, I don't even know where to go with this because there's so much stuff going on. So two things. One, Paul, whoever you are, keep this stuff in, especially the part about Gimberly, because I am positive Martin said Gimberly, and he's invented a new word. You're in good company. Shakespeare, like 25% of all his vocabulary were words that he invented, I heard one time. So you're in the realm of Shakespeare. So when I Gimberly go through my different things that I can use in mobile, so let's say you're an SMB and you got a company of 50 people, 100 people, 500 people, whatever it is, and you're going, how do I get into mobile? So there's a couple of ways to do it. Number one, start with updating your website so it's mobile responsive. It probably is by now, but if it's not, get with the program. You should have been doing that last year. Second thing is go in and use a real easy thing to do is mobile paid search. Everybody's in paid search already. Just start using paid search and just make sure you're clicking the mobile paid search button in Google and Bing and Yahoo and all that sort of stuff. The next thing down after that would be SMS is actually, it's kind of considered an older mobile technology, but it still works. Text messaging still works, and it's still a viable tool. And then you're going to go down to make sure that you have your what's called location-based marketing tools in the hopper. So make sure your Yelp reviews are being monitored and watched. Make sure all those things that are sort of location-based things are being monitored and watched. Then after that, you'll probably get into mobile display. You can do that using the Google mobile ad network or Google ad network and just sort of say, I want to run these on mobile. And then you can also go deeper. And again, just go to 60secondcommunications.com and reach out to me and I'll walk you through how to do a more advanced mobile display that uses some of the technologies I just talked about, which are that kind of in-depth stuff that goes and tracks, targets people, and then also uses the media, the rich media, in order to keep them engaged with your ad once they're there. And if you think through all of that level, I just went from kind of easiest to most complex. And by the time you're getting down to the bottom there, you're going to be way ahead of your competition. And they're going to be diving in saying, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get into this stuff.
Let's talk a little bit about reviews.
Yeah.
You mentioned Yelp. I've been exploring Google My Business for now for quite a while, and I'm seeing it starting to move. I'm seeing people are picking up on the fact that they've got to claim their listing, they've got to get reviews. Do you think the businesses are getting wise to it in a broader sense? Because I mean, I'm looking for it. Do you know what I mean? I'm knocking on doors, and so I'm always picking up. But I still think it's going to take years to be to be the same ecosystem that Yelp has got. I think it's going to take a while. Because I think businesses, it's just adoption, isn't it? You know, you've got to find out and then you've got to invest in either asking people for reviews or just naturally allowing it to be that choice, not what's happening in the UK. TripAdvisor. It's not Yelp, you see. So a lot of people, I talk to them and say, hey, do you want me to leave a review? It's like, yeah, on TripAdvisor. And it's like one last night. And it's like, but I want to leave it on Google. Look, I've got this fancy thing on my phone that encourages it, you know? So, I mean, what are you seeing in that space?
I think it's important for any business to encourage your fans to leave reviews. As you know, most people, when they leave a review, you're more likely to leave a review after a negative experience than you are a positive experience. Positive experience, you go, that was nice, but what, I got things on my plate I got to do. Negative one, it's like, well, I'm going to show them. So what I encourage businesses to do, and it doesn't matter if it's Google Plus, Yelp, TripAdvisor, or whatever, is I encourage them to go in and make sure that people do leave reviews and encourage them to do it. You do not want, nobody does this, but you don't want to say only leave a good review. You just say, hey, please go in and share your honest feedback because we listen to that. The more reviews you have in there, the more likely people are going to believe them. So if you're a restaurant and you got 3 reviews in there and all 3 of them say, this is fabulous, then you know that it was the cousin, the uncle, and the daughter who left those reviews. What you want is to get past those first 3 or 5 that are friends of the family that have left reviews and get into the 5 through 50 where you're getting into the real meat of things and you're getting a real nuanced view of the restaurant or the hotel or the retail business, whatever it may be. And so I think reviews are important. And I think that all businesses should do everything they possibly can to encourage reviews, because in the end, people will if you run a good business, if you're sophisticated enough to be saying we're into mobile, we're into reviews and all that sort of stuff, then you're sophisticated enough to be running a good business, and you'll find that over time more positive reviews will come in than negative reviews.
Super. Let's have a quick chat about mobile websites specifically, because, and I know you're saying have a mobile, a responsive site. That's the first thing to do. It's there. See, I have a lot of gripes about mobile sites because so many sites are just not made to be responsive on a mobile. If you don't mean, they're designed to be lovely on the desktop. And I came across one the other day, and I'm going to name and shame, which is actually smart cars in the UK. I was like, I'd like a little plush of business arrow on the side with like a little smart car. That'd be cool. A little run around. And the site on the mobile didn't allow the banner to click. On the desktop, it had a button and it worked. And I went through and just went, they've made it responsive. And it's like, well, we've tried to put the menu, but because the desktop site was so complex, they've kind of replicated that level of complexity, and it's a totally different experience. And it's like, that's one of the, we're talking psychology. When you're talking ads, and it's like, what is the experience the person's having? Where do they want to click in order to get the information, and what's going to stop them? And that's when you start to work down your percentages. Let's go for tips then. When you're going to make it responsive, what are your top things to do and things to avoid when it comes to site?
Here's what happened, just jumping back to the issue that you're talking about. For a little while, when I wrote Go Mobile, there was a couple of different technologies. Responsive websites really hadn't evolved at the time. So it was basically at a dedicated mobile site. So people had their desktop site, and then they had a dedicated mobile site, and you could do that by having it m dot and then whatever your URL was. And that told Google, this is our mobile site. So people were able to design things that were just for the context. In other words, I'm sitting at a park bench. I don't want all your details. I want the fundamental things. Well, then what happened is that mobile responsive technology came along, which basically was taking all of your content and packaging it up pretty easily into a mobile device. What happened then? People started making the desktop sites much simpler because they knew that a lot of people were going to be viewing that same content on a mobile device, so it had to be very, very simple. That's okay, that's fine. But what still happens is the technology is still not perfect. So the result is what you talked about, which is, hey, the banner doesn't work on the mobile device, but it does work on the desktop device. It even reminds me, thank you for the reminder, I've got to fix something on my mobile site because the text right when you arrive is all discombobulated. But so we're still working, net is we're still working out the technology on that front and trying to make it great. Here's what to remember on the mobile when you're designing your site for the mobile user. A couple of things. One is people don't want a lot of in-depth information. Take context into consideration. By that I mean when people are viewing your website via mobile device, a lot of times they're at a train station, they're at a bus stop, they're in a parking lot, they're at a stoplight, they're in a mall, whatever. They don't have a lot of time. So you want to make sure that it's very streamlined. Second thing is you want to make sure that the information doesn't go very deep because they're kind of flipping through things pretty quickly. One of the things that's going on right now for all websites is they're designing them so it's one big long page. That's because people are starting to learn to scroll and just keep going. They don't really like to click through to other pages on a website, mobile or otherwise, because they just don't want to do that. They're standing at a stoplight. They only have a second. They want to flip through and see directions to your office, things like that. And then finally, and this goes back again to the keeping context in mind, make sure things are easy to get to. Let's say you have a restaurant and you're designing your site for the mobile user. What are the 2 or 3 or 4 things that people want to know for a restaurant? Do they want a bio on your chef? No. Do they want in-depth information? No. They want to know 3 things. They want to see your menu. They want to know where you're located. They want to know your hours of operations. And that's about it. So just keep it very, very simple. And by doing that, you're going to increase engagement on your mobile site and actually drive more traffic to your location because it was simple and easy to use and you kept the information very, very streamlined.
And that sounds very much like the information on the Google My Business page, doesn't it? Right. So I looked at some stats today for a client, and I looked at the number of clicks through to their website. I looked at the number of phone calls in the last month that have been tracked in the Google My Business dashboard. And I think it was 80 calls this month for that particular restaurant. And I look and go, that's a good amount of calls. Like, potentially, that's all takeaways and reservations. Yeah. And then all of the other actions. And for people not to be getting that, and for mobile, because that's what, Google are making it increasingly easy to get the information, but almost for a lot of people, the website isn't necessarily the first place of contact. Yeah. And if you're looking for local restaurants, you may come up first, but it's more likely you're going to get the 3-pack or whatever it displays on the phone.
Yeah.
So again, it's changed, doesn't it? Even though you want to make sure your site's good, if they come directly to you, they're looking for you, and you appear in that way. But if you're competing against others, then that dashboard's dragging the information in.
Yeah. I think the key idea you're driving there is, here was your client that had 80 phone calls off of this. That's great. That's 80 phone calls they would have missed if they hadn't been doing some of the optimization tips that you were guiding them on. And the result is they've had an increase in their business. So all businesses, if you walk away with one idea out of this interview that we're doing together, it's this: you're always looking for ways to beat your competition. In the end, it's a game. And the game is, I've got to do a better job than my competitors. Otherwise, they get the money that I deserve to my business. So if you go with that premise, then you're always trying to find, let's assume that you've got your operations running smoothly in your restaurant or your bookstore or your coffee shop is all running smoothly. On the fringes is, what are the new technologies out there that I can adapt quickly so that I can do that before my competitors do that? And if I do that, then that drives, like you just said, 80 phone calls to my business that my competitor's not getting, because I jumped in and used the techniques that Martin was teaching me. So the net is this: dive into mobile. This is a wave that's not going to go away anytime soon. Your competitors are probably a little bit intimidated by it. That's good news for you, because you can go in and learn it. It doesn't take long to learn it. Dive in and then start using it to grow your business, because that'll give you a step ahead of your competition. And in the end, it'll drive traffic to your website or to your retail business.
There we go. Jamie Turner, everybody. Where can they find you?
I've got two websites. One is 60secondcommunications.com. The other is 60secondmarketer.com. A lot of people are probably familiar with 60secondmarketer.com. Fire away on that one. There's over 1,000 blog posts on there about mobile, social, digital marketing, branding, the whole 9 yards. And occasionally I get on CNN, and so I'll wave and you wave back, and we'll have a little connection that way too. So I can be seen on CNN as well as 60secondmarketer.com and 60secondcommunications.com.
There we go. Awesome. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Martin. I enjoyed it.
Good stuff. That, my googly lovers, was the Google for Business podcast. I'm Martin Shervington, and I look forward to you listening in next time. Until then.